Welcome to another Ask Chuck webcast. Hopefully this will be the last one this year because we'll be hopefully in a break between Christmas and New Year's. Then we come back on January the 5th for the start of the new Congress, and I'll probably be involved in an Ask Chuck webcast at that particular time. I welcome your questions. I've asked for questions by tweeting to you, and I've asked for questions on Twitter, Facebook, or email, and I thank you for the people that have sent in questions. I'll ask a couple now, and the ones that don't get answered this way will be answered by letter. First of all, from Facebook, Chad in Randalia asks, Senator, I've seen several reports that you've attached a number of earmarks to this bill. Is that true? If so, why do earmarks continue to play such a significant part in the funding of legislation? It is true that there are several earmarks in appropriation bills from time to time. There won't be this year because the bill that you're referring to has been taken down by the leader, and we're going to just go ahead for the next 3 or 4 months with a continuing resolution, and the continuing resolution will not have any earmarks in it. And I expect with the new Congress taking over, since both the House Republicans and the Senate Republicans have taken a position that I agree with of not having any earmarks in bills, that the appropriation bills for next year won't have any earmarks in them. You probably know that I have voted for the DeMint amendment at least twice over the last 3 years. It's been defeated. So my position is all 50 states should be treated the same. If we don't have any earmarks, then all 50 states are treated the same. If we have earmarks, and I think Iowans, since we pay taxes, ought to have theirs considered by the Appropriations Committee as well. I think that next year will be a whole different story on earmarks. You asked the question then, why do we have earmarks? Well, it's a philosophical disagreement among different people in the Congress of the United States. Some people would say, well, the Congress has the power of the purse. Our judgment is just as good as that of some bureaucrat of whether money ought to be spent in Polk County on a particular project or not, as opposed to whether or not you ought to not have earmarks, appropriate the money to the bureaucracy, and then let them make that decision, which is more of a professional judgment instead of a political judgment. Christopher, a UNI graduate, tweets this: why weren't 1099s addressed in the tax relief? Coming rules will cause huge, and it's capitalized, huge headaches for businesses of all sides. Absolutely, Christopher is right that this is going to be a monstrosity. And it has had several votes in the United States Senate to approve it on other pieces of legislation. As important as it is, the reason it wasn't included in this tax bill that just went through is if you start adding new things to tax legislation that is otherwise expiring, there's no end to the number of new pieces of legislation that you can add. And so the principle was abided by that we'll continue the existing tax policy and not create anything new. But that doesn't preclude the importance of what you have asked, Christopher, and that will be added to that'll be passed in some piece of legislation soon after the first of the year, I'm sure, because even the President of the United States realizes that that's at least one thing in his health care reform bill that's bad. I would say there's hundreds of bad things in his health care reform bill, but at least he's admitted to one and wants 1099 requirement repealed. So I thank Chad and Christopher for their questions. Other questions will be answered in writing. And I conclude with giving you an update on what's on the floor this week. the treaty with Russia on disarmament of nuclear, a continuing resolution to get us funding through until the new Congress can pass an appropriation bill that's not bloated like the one that Reid just took down last week. And then we will adjourn for the new year, and hopefully a new year is a whole new year, and that there'll be more responsible appropriations.